You mentioned to me in one of our messages that you just got done doing 22 years.
Yeah, I just did 22 years. I did got caught up in like a little manslaughter bid shit with the homies. Went and did my little time. I made my way back to society.
Well, welcome home, and I appreciate you sharing your story with us tonight.
Oh yeah, no problem. No problem.
Now, to the best of your knowledge, what gangs were around before Crips and Bloods came to Macon?
All right, before Crips and Bloods came to Macon, we went through like the sorority phases, like Sigma Psi Phi, Omega Psi Phi, like little regular hood stuff. Then it advanced to like what you would call West Side Posse. FBI would be fellas being intelligent. We had ADE, another devastating example. We had something called Kings, which turned around to be the Mafia. Kings stood for the incident gangster style. And before the Crips and the Bloods came, the West Side was just the West Side, period. You had the different sections. You had Bellevue. You had, of course, my neighborhood, Duncan Avenue, Unionville. You had Low Street, a couple of streets that made Oglethorpe. All those places were just regular neighborhoods that transferred to being gang or part of the gang movement. Macon has been banging since the 80s. Like, the first gangs we had in Macon, the come to Macon were the Crips. The insane Crips came to Macon in the late 80s. So the transitions went from like the late 80s. Atlanta really didn't start gang banging until like the early 2000s. You had not just Macon though. You had Savannah, Columbus, Albany. All those places were like gang banging before Atlanta even thought about doing any gang stuff. So that was like that's just a factual thing. Macon used to be 912, but they changed the area code to 478 because of the gang activity. Because the gang said it is 912.
Now, you said insane Crips. That's as in from Long Beach, California?
Yeah,
okay.
The Long Beach guys, the Gaithers were very influential in the culture down there where we from. They came in like the late 80s, 88, 89, 87. They came by then. Matter of fact, the dude that started Young Foundation for the YLC, Chris Gaither, he was from Long Beach. He's one of the first dudes that had a chance to interact in Macon, Georgia.
Okay, that's interesting to me most definitely because I'm born and raised in Long Beach. So,
I know a couple of people out there, that we interact with, like I said, the Gaithers most definitely were in Macon. They've been in Macon a long time.
Okay.
For the longest, doing their thing, So they were like the first look, rocking the Raiders, rocking the Raiders gift, coming to the Mac, doing their thing. They came, as a lot of California dudes do, they come with the drug trade,
Mm-hmm.
You come and it's like a thing to hustle for them, but it's also introducing the culture to other people when they do come. So when they start mingling and mixing with the people down in our area, it grew to something greater.
In my studies on Macon, Georgia, I heard the name Andre Taylor or Gangsta Dre. Can you talk about his importance to bringing Crips to Macon?
Well, he's like the founder and the forefather of the 912 Crips. He's the one that started the 912 Crips. Everything that comes from that comes from him. He is the founder. There's no other person that could be designated as a founder other than him. He's the person that really put it down to make it where, we are what we are. We're independent set. We don't fall up under any caliphate. We are on independent set in the South. Like one of the first ones over here like that.
And he was killed at a young age, and is that mural still up of him?
Oh yeah, that's never going anywhere. That's gonna be the long as the streets in Macon exist. That's gonna be there. That's never ever going anywhere.
Has anyone tried to like desecrate the mural or anything?
Hell no, that'll never happen.
Be a bad day for him, probably.
Man, that'll never happen. They'll never get the opportunity to do that. We always up there that still around that mural, so it's probably no way impossible that will ever happen.
Okay, all right.
He doesn't just have respect from the Crips. He has respect from all the gangs that make. You know what I'm saying? When he died, it brought the city out and together as a whole. His death changed a lot about bringing people more together than anything. It didn't have a negative reaction on the city him dying.
Okay.
It brought more people together than anything.
And what I understand, he gave back to the community. I mean, he
fed a lot of people. Most definitely. He was the type of guy that encouraged the young guys to do better. As you know, his son went on to play pro football.
Is that QT?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's QT. You know what I'm saying? So he went on to play Detroit Lions 87. You know what I'm saying? He went on to play pro football. The things he instilled in his son, he tried to instill in a lot of the younger homies. But at the same time, you can't make a person take something that you're trying to give them, So, with the streets calling, a lot of people go astray, but he tried his best to influence as many of the homies as he could to do better for themselves.
Let me ask you personally, when is the first time you ever remember hearing anything about Crips and Bloods?
that would have been like the mid '80s.
Okay.
So you always had people coming to Macon. Macon has always been a spot that has been known for like, cause you go back to the chicken circuit, to the chitlin circuit. I mean,
circuit, yeah.
Yeah, back in the days, Macon has always been a spot for black people to come to get on. Cause like I say, James Brown got on there Macon, Otis Redding got on there Macon, Little Richard got on there Macon. Macon has always been a happening place for blacks. It's just that like I say, Atlanta has so much other stuff going on, but when you come to the city, it's like I say, it's like the gangster activity. When you think of the gangster activity, you have to look at the movement of JEEZY and Kinky B. They the people that put the gangsterism of Georgia really on the map.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
What was the second name you said? You said JEEZY and who else?
Kinky B.
Okay, you mentioned him earlier. Okay.
Yeah. They really brought the trap gangster appeal to Macon. If you go back through music and check the history, T.I. wasn't doing it about no gang shit like that. It was the music that JEEZY brought with the trap or die.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? About coming through the club, doing your gang stuff and all that stuff. That's what changed a whole lot of that shit.
How old were you when you turned Crip?
When I turned Crip, I had to be about 13 or 14.
Talk to me about that day.
Okay, we all get quoted, what's called quoted. You know what I'm saying? Like you get quoted, you get beat in. It's like a regular thing, but it's not a regular thing. You know what I'm saying? It's a new day. Like when we first started the stuff down there, we never imagined that it would be what it is today. We never thought that it would grow to be as big as it is, because our gang is outgrew just making itself. Like we had a whole middle Georgia, we have parts of Atlanta, we have Valdosta, we have Augusta, we have things outside of Georgia too. You know what I'm saying? So you never would think that it would get to where it is today, to be what it is today. And a lot of people look at it as a negative thing in the negative light. But when you have youth that are just running the street and really don't know no better, it's not a thing such as being a negative or a positive. It's just an experience you have to go through to learn in life. Because a lot of us have turned out to be different than what we originally started to be out to be.
I was studying Macon, and Montpelier apparently in the 90s was the dividing line between the Crips and the Mafia. Now I've heard of the Vice Lords, I've heard about I've heard Disciples, I've heard Crips, Bloods obviously, but I've never heard of the Mafia. What's the Mafia? Okay,
West Side Mafia is something that was started like when the Crips really started. It started like a little bit after the Crips started. And like Montpelier is separated. Matter of fact, it's two stores that face each other. On one side of the street, you have the Crips. On the other side of the street, you have the Mafia.
Yeah.
They control all the area from Montpelier back to Napier Avenue, everything in between now, like Ernest Street, Roy Street, Whitehall, all that's their area. You know what I'm saying? Like, like I told you, they illustrated something called King. And really, like, it was more of a family-oriented thing. Like, all the games that make it really work, you can just basically say family-oriented people. You know what I'm saying? It's just that people separated into falling up on a different area. All of the stuff in Macon is like Macon created. We don't have outside. We created what we created, then we got accepted by the outsiders. We made them respect us because, Macon was the gang capital for a couple of years. We outdid Cali per capita. They were saying we were doing more than Cali was doing for a little bit of time. You know what I'm saying? So then you have to look at a lot of people overlook the fact. See, when you look at the gang activity, you have to look at the fact that, okay, you had the West Coast. The West Coast was Crips. You had the Midwest. The Midwest was GD. You had up north, it was whatever it was, you know what I'm saying? But then you had the South. The South was a mixture of every gang in the United States. We had Blood, Crips, and GDs for anywhere else had all that stuff together. The whole South did. Like you can't really find when they had GDs in California as a big set, or you can't find when they had Crips in Chicago as a big set. Right. But you can come to Georgia and the South and see that they had all this going on down here. Whereas a lot of people be thinking the South was slow or behind time. We had a lot of this shit, or they had to deal with a lot of this shit. I can remember California niggas coming over here and not knowing that the niggas in black were GDs. They thinking they Crips. You know what I'm saying? They you know what I'm saying? Because they weren't used to being around it. We had been around it a long time before that.
You got a 22-year bid. I would like to talk about your prison story a little bit to hopefully detour a lot of kids listening. What was it like for an active Crip entering prison in GA?
All right, and here you have to move as a unit. There's no such thing as a separate person or you or individual, because like if a blood attacks a Crip, they'll attack all the Crips. If a Crip gets into it, the blood, all the Crips have to get into it. So it depends on the amount of respect you have as a person and who you are as a person, which determines like what your prison sentence is like. Like you could be a foot soldier and you have issues, but you can be a OG or a big homie, and it's a difference in what you endure when you're in prison. You know, like whereas like it's always situations, but if you're a thinker, you can mediate the situation. Because the object of it is to keep as less situations as possible, because people die. People really literally die. Like it's death that comes with it.
Were you locked up in Georgia prison?
Yeah, I was in Georgia prison. I did time at like a couple of Georgia prisons: Autry, Reedsville, Calhoun, Telfair. You know, mostly level 5 camps.
Now, I've talked to several people who have done a lot of time behind bars on my show, and one thing that they said is that almost half, or some have said the majority of people who are locked up because they were snitched on by somebody. When you heard the judge say you're getting 22 years, what's going on in your head at that time?
Nah, they told me I was getting more years than that. I actually had got like 7. I had actually got like 70 years. To be honest.
Damn, which makes my question a little bit deeper. I mean, you think you're about to spend the rest of your natural life in prison. What was going on in your head mentally?
Well, the thing that should be going on in everybody's head in a situation like that is that you should be trying to find a loophole or find a lawyer to make things work for you. You know, it depends on what the situation is. You know, different people's situations is different. They vary from person to person. You know, the next person's situation might not be what my situation is. Whereas, like, you know, I felt like it was a situation where I was defending myself against the people, and when it came down to it, I wasn't gonna tell them the people with me because, hey, we weren't in the wrong to me and for how I see things or how I was looking at things. So my situation was maybe different from someone else. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, when the judge said at the time, the only thing I could think of was that, you know, I got to find a way to get back. You know, don't give up on myself or think that I'm just gone or my shit's just fucked up like that right there. Just, you know, got to buckle down, get a lawyer, learn the law, learn what's going on, and keep myself as far removed from bullshit as possible so that I can get back.
And all right, 22 years. So shit, what changed most about Macon when you came home? Was it a better city than you left it? Was it a worse off city than you left it?
Macon was it was way different. Cause like at a time when I was running around in the streets, if you weren't built a certain type of way, you couldn't go certain places. Like you wouldn't find people that come to my neighborhood that weren't built or weren't allowed in my neighborhood. Whereas you had some of us that would go anywhere and everywhere we wanted to go. People weren't allowed to go everywhere like that. So it's like that was one of the greatest changes, period.
When was Macon most active?
I would say Macon was the most active, like first beginning of the 90s, from like 90 to like 96, 97. That's when Macon was really just wide open.
Take me back to when the movie Colors came out. Did that have like any impact on your city at all? I know, gang. I think you said mid 80s they were already there, so they probably already in there for a few more years. But did that like explode things? Like,
no, Colors didn't really. It wasn't the colors. Colors. It was the actually mingling with the dudes that were from there.
Yeah.
That because you know you like I say once the Long Beach guys came, you had guys came from Carson. You had guys came from Rolling 60s. You had guys came from everywhere that just come in a mingling. Like I said, it was about money. So dudes are mingling trying to make this money, and they coming through. You know what I'm saying? And we meeting these dudes and seeing these dudes. Then, you know, when Dre came from Carson, back from Carson, California, you know, it was something different. You know, the whole dynamics of what was going on changed. You know, it was a thing whereas if we doing this, we ain't doing this their way, we doing this our way.
I've heard people say the streets are a lie, the streets are a myth. What are your general thoughts when you hear things like that? Okay.
I went to prison. I took some charges. I went to prison. I was what I would say what keeping it real is, you know. I ain't gonna let y'all go to prison. I'm gonna stand up. I'm gonna take these charges. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. But then at the end of the day, the when you get a chance to firsthand see it, it really is a myth. Like it's only I say it's like a 92%, 8% thing. Scarface said that one time. Like 92% of this shit's just fucked up. It's only 8% of the people that are gonna hold to the realism of the rules and morals or the ethics of the streets.
What's the difference between gangsters when you were coming up and gangsters in 2020?
There are no gangsters in 2020.
Break it down.
Okay. Gangsters, when I was coming up, like I was taught by the dudes before me, they were gangsters without being gang members. You know, it's a hustle. It's a less violent thing as possible. It don't matter. It's not about who shoots the gun the most or who whoops the most ass. It's about having the mind and using your mind to elevate not only yourself, but those in your circle to be better or to move on or to give back and reach back and teach the next one. You know, it's like each one teach one. Nowadays, that don't go on. Them dudes got these dudes crashing out, doing dumb shit. A lot of dudes don't got into this social media shit and making mockery of their damn self on social media and acting as if they're gang members. You know, it's like I'm the big homie, but I'm on Facebook arguing about a bitch. That's not what goes on. Or you know, I'm on Facebook teaching you how to sell drugs on Facebook, or hustle your weed on Facebook, or do this. You know, it's no teaching. It's no teaching of the game. It's no elevation of the teaching of the rules, because the rules have been totally ignored. Like if you're a civilian, there are no rules. Like you are on a whole different code. But if you're a gang member, there's supposed to be rules and charters. It's supposed to be big homies, YGs, TGs, OYGs, and such and so forth. But the big homies are supposed to be the ones that influence and pretty much control the flow of what's going on. And the young dudes just don't respect that no more because nobody's doing none of that no more.
You know, probably the biggest change from when you first got locked up to when you got out is social media. What are your general thoughts on social media and how gang members interact with it nowadays? And it's getting people locked up. You know, things they're doing on camera is getting them put behind bars. What are your whole general thoughts on that?
Yeah, on the one hand, it's like, okay, if me and you take a picture together and I'm throwing up a gang sign and we get in trouble, you're a gang member. I think that's wrong. Like that's like that's happened to my son even. Like, you know, you on a picture with some dudes just because you got on blue and they throwing up gang signs, that means you're a gang member. You know what I'm saying? And that's just crazy as hell. But then the infiltration of gangs on Facebook is the most amazing thing, because you have these dudes that try to question people, or more or less like, who are you? What are you? Well, I know this, and do you know this, and do you know this? And people are actually giving the people the game of the game. Like I might not know nothing about gangs. I can go on a Crip group and learn about Crips. So I know a little bit or just enough that I can feed to somebody else to like, okay, I know a little something, now you give me some more. You know what I'm saying? Like I might not have knew this then, but look, I went on the site and I seen that Crip stands for this. So I tell you Crip stands for this, and you ask me, do I know this? And I tell you just enlighten me because I don't know, and I've been misled. Then I teach you stuff that you ain't got no business knowing.
Damn.
Yeah, you never know who's behind the keyboards or what their purpose is behind the keyboards or none of this stuff. Man, this shit is super watered down, bro. This shit is like Kool-Aid with no sugar. like this is what it's like, you know. And then like the people that are getting the fame for the gang activity are like the lowest of the total pole. Like Tekashi is a perfect example. You get all this you sold hundreds and hundreds of millions of albums, probably a billion streams. But what you taught people is to be a rat. You taught gang members to rat. Like you ran with some dudes that were real dudes. The dudes you ran with were real official blood dudes. Okay, you running with these dudes. Okay, the whole time you running with them, they're not saying you're not right. They're not saying they're using you or nothing. They just let you do your thing and they're backing you. So you're teaching the youth to act as if they see you act. So they say music influences the culture. That's what their opinion is anyway. You know what I'm saying? So if you got a motherfucker like this doing, like, it's no more Scarfaces anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's no more Ghetto Boys. It's no more Dr. Dre's. It's no more Nipsey's. It's rare to find that. That's like non-existent nowadays.
Another big change in since you were, you know, got convicted into when you're getting out is music, and I mean specifically certain aspect of music. Nowadays, they're disrespecting people about they're trying to get as disrespectful as possible. I mean, they're videotaping, you know, music videos at the opposition's gravesite. I mean, they're
you talking about Julio?
Yeah, Young and Ace, all those guys, and this is a thing that's going around all over the country. You know, now New York has their own scene where they're just standing on people's grave sites and like just smoking on this pack, smoking on that pack.
But
go ahead.
But to me, all that disrespectful shit comes from that suck ass versus shit they did.
Okay,
like, to me,
you talking about the Jeezy and Gucci Man thing?
Yeah,
talk to me, dog, because you're from Georgia, so you're a little bit closer to that whole situation. So, okay, talk to me about that.
Most definitely. Like man, like a dead person. Like I guess I read Gucci Man said Rick Ross told him to rap about what he did because he actually did that. You know what I'm saying? So without getting too far into that, it's like what they did. They saying they like Jeezy's biggest thing was like, I'm doing this for the culture. This is for the culture. This is for the culture. But if you look at the violent numbers, like in the areas where him and Gucci Man are from, Atlanta, and Macon, the violence went up. Like we had a record number of homicides this year.
Damn.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like in Atlanta, 2 or 3 people die every day. In Macon, it's like 53, 54 murders.
And that's a small city. You hear 53 murders, people, and you think, oh, only 53. No, this is a small city.
Yeah,
you got to go with
small city.
Yeah, man. This is in comparison. Like 53 murders in Los Angeles is nothing because we have 3 million people here. But
yeah, 3 million people.
Yeah,
but if you got 80,000 people in a county, like not a city, in a county, period. And 53 people die in the main city of the county. That's bad. They say per capita, that's real bad. So you have to look at the per capita. Like
exactly.
Yeah, if Macon was the same size as Los Angeles,
I mean, it's probably worse than Chicago right now.
Yeah, it would be. Those murders would be in the hundreds.
Yeah,
those murders would be a lot greater.
Yeah.
But it's like that disrespect. It did more damage than it did good in my eyes.
So that was a Pookie Loc thing, right? When he dissed Pookie Loc.
Yeah, like it's like it did more damage. I'm gonna leave it at that. It just did more damage. It was a fucked up thing to do.
That one little decision, huh?
Yeah, that one little decision started a whole bunch of shit. You know what I'm saying? That one little decision
just sparked something up that was 15 years old and probably no one was even thinking about or was kind of.
And then I listen. Like Gucci took advantage of a situation. Jeezy had no one with him from where we're from. Because if it had been anybody there with us from where we're from, they know what would have went on. Okay. That's why Gucci had that. That's why Gucci had all that
from
security.
Macon?
Jeezy's from Hartsville, Georgia, but Macon is what put Jeezy on.
Gotcha, never knew that.
Jeezy got on in Macon. Yeah, Jeezy got on in Macon.
Gotcha.
As far as the music goes.
Yeah.
As far as being on as a hustler, he was always on.
Gotcha.
But as far as the music goes on, he got on in Macon, Georgia.
Okay.
But that's why Gucci had all the security. The security wasn't for the event. It was for the people from Macon because he know what's going on. Like anybody from Georgia knows about Macon, knows what's going on with Macon. If you Google Macon, you'll see what's going on with Macon, Georgia. Macon, Georgia has always been where the gangster shit comes from in Georgia. It's undeniable. Before us, it was all been in Georgia.
Damn, man, I didn't think of it that deep. When we're watching it, we see it as entertainment, right? Like as
no, it's not. It's not entertainment.
No, not you, because you live. You know what I'm saying? You guys live it down there.
What you got is like POOKIE Loc is a reputable guy from Macon, Georgia.
Okay.
He's more than a reputable guy. He was a real gangster. Rest in peace and God bless the homie. He was a real gangster. Like he wasn't like you portraying him like you talking this shit. But you talking this shit because whatever happened. Not getting into that, but whatever happened, you got lucky in the situation. You know what I'm saying? Because POOKIE Loc is a legendary guy. Like if you go where we from and do an interview on POOKIE Loc, or if you were to come down there and go around and hear the story, POOKIE Loc wasn't no fucked up dude, but he was a real dude. You know what I'm saying?
Damn. And you know what? You would expect this from 22, 23-year-old maybe, but Gucci and Jeezy, they're a little bit older, man. So you would think that
man. Yeah, but the fucked up thing about it is they discussed this shit before that, and they discussed this shit before the show actually happened. So it was already made to do this. You know what I'm saying? And then you have a lot of people that feel like people from Macon don't agree with Jeezy, don't like Jeezy. People from Macon fuck with Jeezy. It's just that some decisions are bad decisions. You know what I'm saying? You got some people fuck with him, some people don't. You know, but you know, some decisions are just fucked up decisions to make. You know, that's no hate or no bad toward dudes. You know what I'm saying? I love them to death. But you know, some decisions are fucked up decisions to make. Like that's something you shouldn't open up because you know if a whole city of motherfuckers would kill about that dude.
Thank you for sharing that from a perspective from somebody from Georgia, because once again the audience doesn't understand how important something like that is. You know, we click on the YouTube video, oh, that shit's cool. Nah, man, there's some real shit behind this.
I be on YouTube a lot, so like you have people say shit and they say the most ignorant shit in the world. It's like yeah, you blasting, smoking, this and this and this and this and this and this. But y'all don't know how many people don't got pulled up on about that bullshit. How many people don't posted something on social media talking that shit, and then they pull up. Or how CEO Big 30 was talking that shit like he bad Gucci man, and he was finna come to Macon, and he did come to Macon because he knew what was going on. Now these are factual basis of things. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I'm gonna tell you a perfect situation would be. People look at Georgia in a certain type of way because of Atlanta, but you got Savannah, Macon, Albany, Columbus. These areas are areas where motherfuckers don't play. Like, motherfuckers die fucking around here. These guys have been doing this gangster shit far longer than that. You know what I'm saying? Just so happened, or the misfortunate event, that homie got killed up here. But at the same time, Holmes know what's going on, though. Like, if he was just a real nigga and just talk to you, like, yeah, well, I know Macon don't play. Macon don't play. It's like when he came to do the show in Macon. You got all this motherfucking security. You got the GBI, the ATF, you got the parole officers, the probation officers. You got everybody in the world like this motherfucker. Then you got where people can't come in the door wearing blue shirts. But I go on the internet and I see him talking all this shit. Wow. It's like, oh, you talking this shit. But motherfuckers don't know. You got all this other shit going, oh, I came to Macon, I did a show. But you had the whole entire police world like that motherfucker. What you expect the motherfucker to do? Go to jail for trying to kill you or something? You know, well, that's you know, it's just different strokes, man. You know, I hate that versus shit happened though. That versus shit was not for the culture. It was not good whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? That shit was really some straight bullshit.
Damn, man, you just broke it down, and yeah, you're gonna. That really sucks, man. I'm sorry that things are. And you said that the homicide rate is skyrocketing. It's like that in LA, man, and a couple of other cities, Philadelphia. I mean, it's just really. Why do you think we're going back to homicide rates that we haven't seen since the 90s?
Well, with the gang shit, I can say that you have too many niggas coming from other spots trying to run other niggas' spots. Like, you have phone call OGs now. Like, I phone call and you make a dude OG over a hood now. Like, it's not like if I'm in California and I got a line in Georgia, it's a phone call that make a nigga OG now. You don't know this nigga. You don't know what he about. You don't know if he real, he fake, he flaw. He might have came to California, met the dudes. All of a sudden you come back, you're a Georgia OG now. But you might be a pussy motherfucker over here. You know, you might be the softest thing it is in the world over this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the game and the dynamics of the game has changed. Everybody wants this money. They don't care what they do to get the money. Everybody wants this fame. It's being gangsters. They don't know how to go about being a real gangster.
Man, OG Head, I would love to leave on a positive note. I know you work with children. Give us an idea, man, of what you do with the youth and how you're trying to, make a change.
All right, me and this is actually a couple of different fronts. We have something called Our Community Matters that we do out of Millersville, we do out of Macon, where we get the youth and we take them out. Like, we take them to the aquarium, we sit down and talk to them. We try to mentor to them. We have bike giveaways, book bag giveaways. We try to do things and tell them like, for a long time I looked at people that were talking to the youth, and they always try to talk like politically correct. Like, I'm not gonna cuss, I'm not gonna say this, I'm not gonna say that. But these same kids are cussing and all this other shit. It's like you trying to talk to them in a way that they're not respecting you for talking to them like that. You know what I'm saying? So we came up with a formula of how to talk to them on a relatable level. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna talk to you like you talk to me. Like, I'm not gonna play with you like you're some innocent like you're some innocent baby, but I know you out there terrorizing the neighborhood. Like, I'm trying to give you a pat on the hand when you need to just be told what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? So, like, me and a couple of the homies, that have got older, we took it upon ourselves to get like the nonprofit Our Community Matters. I have my homie, Mr. Big Man. who has a Superpowers podcast. You know, he is into mentoring and tapping into your spiritual powers. You know, it's knowing yourself, finding self in the process of becoming who you are. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people trying to put back and give back. You have the up and coming artists like Drip Goo, Billy Howard, all these people trying to give back to the community and do things to kind of like bend the cycle. Because, you know, when you have a small town, everybody knows everybody pretty much. You know what I'm saying? Like, we grew up with somebody that knows something or knows your folks or something like that. So it makes no sense to not intercede before the shit gets to a level where it shouldn't be, you know, to try to stop the bullshit from going on.
Man, really appreciate everything you're doing out there in the streets, you know, to at least do your part. Let me ask you, man, I know you work with some musical acts and, you know, you got your YouTube channel. I want you to tell everybody where they could find you and promote anything you want, man. The floor is yours, dude.
Oh, man, if I could promote anything, man, I'm going to promote Macon, Georgia, man. Don't matter who it is or what they are from Macon, Georgia, as long as they're some real individuals, man, you fuck with them. If you see that hush movement, first until something happened, that's one of the homies from Macon, Georgia. You see that guap rappers, that's some of the homies from Macon, Georgia. You know, the Superpowers podcast, Mr. Big Man, Sonny Campbell, you know, those are people from Macon, Georgia. Drip Goo, Cash Talk, CPH, you know, it's so many different acts and so many different. I don't want to name anybody to keep from leaving anybody out. So if you see anything from my city, man, just support it, because that's going to be the realest it get most of the time. And we're going to let you know if it's some bullshit. We don't play like that.
Man, I really enjoyed this conversation, man. I would love to have you on in a few months, man, and just make this a reoccurring thing, because I dig your vibe and everything, man.
I tell you what, though, man, you know, I'm not a selfish dude, man. I like to turn you on to some more dudes.
Please do.
City, man,
I would really appreciate that, actually.
Like our city is weird, whereas people don't really like to talk to strangers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not going to be really, like, if you watch a lot of these blogs that go around, you know what I'm saying, you'll see they come at night, or they come and they don't really get to talk to anybody. You know what I'm saying? But when you got certain people that are reputable people from where we're from, we can open the door to make it so you can talk to people. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to open the door and extend the invitation to you.
Please.
To hook you up to where, like, whoever you want to talk to. If you want to talk to some Mafia dudes, you want to talk to some Blood dudes, you want to talk to some GD dudes,
thank you.
Whoever you want to talk to, I open the door for you to extend the invitation, because, like, I don't want to be the only voice for Macon. I can only tell you Macon from my story, from what I've seen and experienced. You know, I can't speak for other people and what's going on with them. I can just tell you, this is what I've seen. Somebody might have seen something different that's more vital than what I've seen, though. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm telling you from my perspective. But what I would like to do is open the door for you to go be able to talk to a lot of more people, man.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah, and my YouTube is Gangsta Advisory South. That's what it is.
That's right. Gangsta Advisory South. Make sure you guys follow him on YouTube, Gangsta Advisory South.